What is
Morning,
up,
Jack?
sales people? What's up, Kevin? Not Kevin, Brandon.
Hello, sir.
Not a sir.
Do we have Steven today? I know yesterday we didn't have him, but a couple of us brought him up to
I'm
speed.
here.
When he missed. He's here. Okay, the goods
Steven.
must be moved.
Nice. Awesome. Well, is anyone, we're waiting on anyone, is everyone here that's going to be here today? Do y'all know?
I didn't get anywhere that anybody wasn't.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I think they're all here.
Okay, just making sure we can get started. What's up, everyone? Good local time wherever we are in the world. We're excited to be here on this Friday morning, and really just going to pick back up today where we left off and keep doing some work on the pain funnel. Anybody have any questions about that? Anyone missed that? Or I know we only got 1 or 2 people through practice reps yesterday, so goal is to get everybody else at least 1 rep doing the pain funnel.
Steven's chugging it.
Steven's chugging it. He's on a
Chugging.
mission.
It's late. It's late over there in Germany.
Yeah. So we asked everybody, homework for last night was to, go over the pain questions, and if you can, find someone that you can practice on. Did anyone have a chance to do that?
I did it on my wife because she's got a IT like VoIP phone issue. It wasn't very productive because she's pushing back on the questions, but maybe it was a good example of meeting the jerk on the other end of the line.
Well, tell me, we've already talked a little bit about the pitfalls of using the pain funnel on your wife. You never know what truths you're going to uncover, but that sounds like a pretty safe subject. How did it go? Tell me more about how she pushed back.
So I started going through the questions, and she, it was late at night and she was tired. It was like 9 o'clock at night, but she definitely does have an issue. Basically, her VoIP phone has a connection issue somewhere. Some customers complain about it, some don't. But where the pain started falling apart is they've had tech support come out to try and help them find the issue, and they've never found the issue. But anytime I'm on like a headset or I'm trying to talk to her, every 20 to 30 seconds, you get like the aliens super loud fax machine sound kind of thing come through there. And so when I got down into questions to find out, how is this a pain for you? How is this costing you money? She's like, it's not. I just work insurance for them, so it kind of fell apart in the end. It's not fixed.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's real though. One, you're going to get real emotional pushback, and it's not against you, right? It's not your fault. They're not mad at you, but it is something that they've been annoyed probably on an ongoing basis by. So that's real. And then getting to that point anywhere in the funnel where they're like, you know what, I can't do anything about this, right? It's not that's also important to learn, right? It's one of the dead ends you might run into is, hey, I'm talking to the wrong person, right? This isn't a decision maker. This is a person who's they're feeling the symptoms of the pain, but they're not the one who's going to solve it. So good thing to learn, right? So if that was a prospect and you were trying to help, maybe sell them another VoIP system or something like that, that's a data point, right? You can do the pain funnel on that person. You might be able to ask them, who do you go to for this, right? Who's your point of contact? Try and get up the food chain to figure out who actually could make a change and see if it's worth. And that gives you a pretext to call whoever. It's like, hey, Frank, the IT manager, I was talking to one of your team members earlier this week, and they told me you've been having some problems with your VoIP phone system. That's something you guys are working on, or is it user error? So yeah, that's awesome. Anybody else have a chance to run through the pain funnel? It's all good. We'll get practice reps here today. So Dad, did you have anything to add?
I have a couple things, Jacko. First of all, before I hit the video button, I was talking to the mute, so that's 6. Anyone who's keeping score, and we've got 40 of these to do. So
I think that's 7. I think that's 7.
Okay, I can't even keep count either. So That's one thing. So you're on the over now, Thomas. And the other thing is just notice Brandon, if you remember yesterday when he popped up, he really looked like, I mean, I was a little intimidated at first. Like he looked like the VP of player development for the Rangers. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, literally for just a half a second before I realized it was Brandon, I was like, holy cow, who is this, this executive on our damn call? It's just amazing the difference we can make with how we present ourselves. And today, of course, he looks like Portland Brandon. It's a completely different look. He probably smells like, the devil's cabbage or something. I don't know, but
rich mahogany, John. Rich mahogany
leather. That's exactly. But anyway, it's just a reminder when you show up for your interview or your first day on the job. I can tell you, when the let's say 10 people would come in the room, you could look and just immediately know these two people, probably those are my winners. And if Brandon showed up in that suit, he'd be one of them. If everybody shows up dressed like me in a black t-shirt, nobody knows, right? But if you show up and you're giving a message, you're saying, I'm the man, okay? Take a look, like Ric Flair. Limousines. Anybody else know Ric Flair? Raise your hand.
Woo!
Woo!
I don't think I've actually seen that person though. I've heard the name.
Well, you should definitely YouTube it. He's
Some of us younger folk know Ric Flair as a meme only. We don't actually know who the person is.
he's
WWE.
he
Yeah.
ruled wrestling. He ruled wrestling with basically an attitude. I think he just had this just larger than life attitude. And
he's an actor, right? I mean, that's
no, it was
it's
real.
all
Jack.
it's all for show.
No,
like,
it's real. It's
Wrestling is
real.
real.
I mean, they're really out there doing the things, but it's like a staged drama.
That is not true. And the other thing I'll say, now that I'm through the BNR now, is Brandon, good job practicing. I guarantee you all of your first attempts practicing with a new person are not going to go great. We call those in the business dirty reps, right? You got to get a certain number of just bad calls, dirty reps in. And once you get through a certain number of them, then it'll be like second nature to you.
Yeah, guys. So this is the closest, this kind of sales process. It's very similar in my mind to the 9-line process that I learned how to call airstrikes, right? Very stylized, very, scripted, linear process to say, okay, you check in, I'm going to rack and stack you where I want you. But then I got to just start working through the 9 lines. And it seems really simple on the surface. Hey, here's the things you say exactly, right? Verbatim. You have to fill in the blanks a couple places, but the order is the same. The way you say it is the same. But dirty reps absolutely defines the first 6 months of calling airstrikes. Even once I was a fully qualified JTAC, take a couple months off, do another training, and then come back out to the range. And I would literally push to talk, and it's like my brain had melted. And I didn't know first thing how to say. So, but it took time, right? I got to the point where I didn't have to have the sheet in front of me, and I could just, have a conversation that followed that same script and flow without having to have it all written down. But that took years of practice and training. So same thing for sales is you got to just get through some of these really uncomfortable, painful reps, whether it's in this kind of environment, which is a friendly environment, whether it's with people that friends, family, people in your network, people you meet on LinkedIn, people that you can say, hey, can I use you for 5 or 10 minutes as a guinea pig? I'm practicing something. Say, sure, no problem. All right, I'm asking some questions, just go along with it. All right. Yeah. That will be a great use of your time. And that way you get through those uncomfortable feelings so that when you go talk to a live prospect you've never met before, this stuff is just second nature and you're not stumbling over your words and sounding unsure of yourself. Because if there's one rule that I learned from the SEAL teams, it's always look cool. Never look like you don't know what you're doing. Never look flustered. So even if you're completely, the image of the duck, on the surface above the water, they're calm, cool, collected. Feathers are all nice and neat. Under the water, those little feet are just kicking furiously, trying to stay afloat. So you can be flustered, you can feel uncomfortable, but just don't let them see it. The way you do that is reps, like he said. So Anybody got thoughts, questions before we start doing practice reps?
I use this for my wife, same thing, but kind of like the last three, I usually like give solutions. So it's kind of like in a wrong way. I know unknowingly I've been using this because sometimes when my wife tells a problem, then it's like you're having a big ear. It's like, okay, what happened? And then stuff like that. And later on, the only part that I'm doing wrong in here is the last three, because in the last three, okay, I think here's what you should do. It's like that. But definitely I know unconsciously I've been doing it on, you know, on even in some of the persons that trying to ghost to you and kind of like release the tension or just want to air out their problems. So
Yeah.
some of us can.
Yeah, it's really hard not to jump to solve, right? I mean, I think all of us have some level of, you know, we want to be helpful, and that's how we think we're being helpful, is saying, listen, I think I know, you know, the solution to your problem. But as we've talked about with the fish oil and insomnia story, delivery and getting permission to offer a solution makes all the difference, right? Complete 180. So, you know, this is something my wife does a lot. I'm bad about it too, but we've kind of honed in on, this is one of her habits that just drives me through the roof, is especially with our kids. I'll be doing something and she'll say, hey, I have an idea for how you could do that better. But she's not asking permission. She's not going through the pain funnel. She's just like, here's an idea, do this better. I'm just like, like, you know, none of us respond well to that. So that's good. That's a good observation, Mark. Thank you for that. But yeah, once you get to the end of that pain funnel, it's real tempting to jump to those last three steps and just say, hey, let's get straight down to business and start talking solutions, especially if you're selling something and you think that there's a good chance you're going to sell this person something. Take a breath, follow the pain funnel. You know, the reason all those questions are on there, if you skip a couple of them, you're creating a blind spot for yourself. So good call, Mark. Anybody else?
Well, I think just really quick, we're only on the third step, right? And I definitely got my first dead end client. It's good to know. Maybe if you set up that 45-minute call, we're only probably somewhere at like 5 to 10 minutes in, and I've already kind of ID'd the dead client. At least then I can do that triage and figure out who I'm supposed to be talking to, or if I can't figure that, you know, go to my supervisor and get that figured out. Hey, should we attack this client at a different angle or move on?
Yeah, no, that's gold, Brandon.
Brandon, that actually happened to me once. I was talking to someone trying to sell me some sales training early in my kind of sales manager life. And I really needed it and I really wanted it. And the guy was good. He was a good salesperson. And I kept saying, well, I'm going to have to show this to Larry. You know, Larry was our CEO. And he finally said, well, John, it sounds like, you know, Larry's going to need to be in on this. So he was in that decision part of the submarine. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, what would be most helpful to you? How can I help you make that happen? So he didn't say, let me talk to Larry. He said, how can I help you make that happen with Larry? And so then I was able to devise the strategy. And I said, best thing for me would be if I set up a call with just you and him. I don't want to be involved. I don't want to get in the middle of it with this crazy man. So just let him decide yes or no. And so I knew the right way to do it. And then my call was literally over, you know, in 8 minutes. And it was completely fine. Completely fine. Now, what if that guy would have just kept going on and on about his services and how long they've been in business and what they did for this client? I was already sold. And he figured that out and figured out what we had to do next. So it's okay if the call doesn't go 60 minutes.
That's a beautiful thing. If you can have a call that's scheduled for 60 that goes for 15 and you get an outcome,
Yeah.
whether it's a no or a next thing, that's beautiful, right?
Yeah,
For everybody.
What are we trying to do next? It doesn't have to take an hour.
Yep.
Okay, let's practice.
Any volunteers? I know we got Brandon yesterday. Who else did we get yesterday?
I think that's it.
Okay, Brandon, you got through it yesterday. So going once, going twice, we'll volunteer.
Yeah, I can go.
Mark, Kevin.
Yeah, I'll go.
Kevin, you got it. All right, so we've done B&R. We've had some laughs, did the quick upfront contract. now you're, you can literally ask me any, probing questions that you could think of. Can be real general. I'll just make something up.
Yeah, sure. All right, sir. So I know you told me your computers are randomly shutting off. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. So we've had a couple of machines that just randomly in the middle of the workday will shut off. They boot back up. They don't seem to have any problems booting back up, but yeah, they shut off seemingly random, and it's just annoying our employees.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah. So yesterday afternoon, we were in a meeting where the CFO was briefing us about the next quarter's financial projections, and her laptop just crapped out about 20 minutes into the projection, into the presentation.
Wow, and this has been going for how long?
Really for the last couple months now. It's kind of crept on. I thought we'd get ahead of it after the first week or two, but it's been about 3 months.
Man, what have you tried to do about it?
Well, I've given my IT manager the task of figuring out what was going on, and getting a kind of feedback on that has been elusive. He keeps telling me that he's not sure, and he's talking to the manufacturer and some of our different SaaS providers, and no one has seemed to have any accountability or idea what's going on.
All right, thank you for that. Did that work?
No, we're still having the problem. In fact, it's getting more common. We're getting, I think I've got 5 reports of 5 people in the last week that have had their laptop cut off.
And so in general, how much has this problem cost you? Both in just time, money, maybe personal feelings, like how have you felt about this?
Yeah, it's been frustrating. I mean, we pay good money for the machines and software that we use to run this company. We would like for them to just work as they're supposed to. These things aren't old machines; they're relatively new hardware with up-to-date software, and so we would like them to just do what they're supposed to do. And so there's definitely some frustration. I'm kind of at the point where if my IT manager can't figure this out in a timely fashion, I'm loss of confidence in him. And productivity, right? If you've got, someone's taking an hour or 2 out of their day where they're not working and they're trying to get an IT issue fixed, it's causing us losses. I put a number on it. I don't have a good number. It's kind of all over the place, but it's probably costing us 10 hours a week productivity.
Right. Now you guys are a pretty decent sized company. It couldn't be that much, right?
Yeah, I mean, 10 hours a week is just what I know about. That's what people are telling me. So it's probably more than 10 hours a week. That's just kind of my conservative estimate.
Right. And is that a big deal?
Hell yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, that's 10 hours that we paid for that we're not getting work out of. That's full-time employees getting a good paycheck, and instead of doing their job, they're just sitting around twiddling their thumbs while IT guys trying to fix their machine. So they're still getting paid that whole time, and that hurts.
Yeah. What happens if you don't fix it?
Well, we'll probably fire our IT guy because this is kind of reached a boiling point, and we'll continue to lose money through paying people that aren't working, and eventually lose customers and deals, and just generally kind of erodes the effectiveness, the efficiency of our company. So none of those are good outcomes.
Yeah, that's not good. What do you feel you should do?
I think we're at the point where we need outside help. I don't know who or what that looks like, but the people that we employ to do this stuff for us have been kind of disappointing, to say the least. So I think seek outside help.
Excellent, sir. So are you saying, are you open to outside suggestions on how to fix that?
Yeah, absolutely. If you got any ideas, I'd be all ears.
Excellent.
Awesome. Good work. Yeah, man, that's it's that easy, right? Just ask the questions, and you did a really good job asking with not monotone. You kind of had nice cadence, nice and slow and methodical. You sounded genuinely interested and sympathetic or empathetic to the plight of this fictional boss? What do you got, Deb?
Well, first of all, I agree. It was pure genius, pure genius. Now, if someone, think about the submarine, if you're doing that to a prospect and they don't know where these questions are coming from, they think this is the best salesperson I've ever talked to. I mean, you were just smooth. I couldn't tell you were looking at a script. I mean, it just sounded beautiful. So yeah, it sounded great. I'll give you a couple of suggestions. It's always difficult, not always, but generally difficult to get a return on investment number. People don't just come out and say it. First of all, they don't know what it is. They just know they have a problem. But second of all, you know, it's their defense mechanism is up. Well, they know if they tell you that number, you kind of got them,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So a lot of people will be a little cagey about giving it to you. So to get it out of them, you asked a good question. You know, you said roughly, what is this costing you a month? And he's like, well, I'm not sure. And you asked him again, he eventually said 10 hours a month. So the next question will be, well, roughly, I know you don't have an exact number, but roughly, what does an hour cost you guys? You know, I don't know what the number is. Maybe he says $1,000 of production time or something. So, I mean, you're trying to get a rough idea of magnitude of what the problem is. And frankly, 10 hours a month might not be enough, you know, to do something, but let's just, you want to get a rough number. And if he hadn't have said 10 hours, you could have said something like, okay, well, I know you don't know how much it is, but let me just get let's just try to figure out rough numbers. Is this like, you know, monthly, is this like a $10,000 a month problem, $100,000 a month problem, $1 million a month problem? You know,
Yeah.
give them some rough things to choose from, and then you can get into a bucket.
So like a
And
base scale, just like a base scale, like a 10, and go off that.
you could, but at the end of the day, you are trying to get to a dollar amount.
Yeah.
And then so that was my idea for the ROI part. At the end of the call, in the perfect call, what I want to hear is, okay, Jack, you said you're open to suggestions. Let me throw one at you. You said, you know, that your company might be losing up to $1 million a year for this problem. Is that right? Yes. Well, would you be willing to spend, you know, invest like 30 grand for me to send my team out there for a couple of days and do a study to show you how we might be able to help you? I don't know if we can, but that would be we would be trying to help you solve this problem. And at that point, generally, they're going to say yes. You know, if they really believe they're losing $1 million a year, to do a little study, the monkey's paw, as Jack calls it, to get them started would be the ideal solution at that point. And, you know, it's also something that can get done. You know, they can usually get something small done. And then once you're in there, once you're behind the curtain, that's when you can navigate the bigger deal.
But yeah, because then they'll be like, oh, well, we have this issue too.
Mhm.
And now you can
Yep.
just, stem from there.
Over the hump at that point.
Steven,
Kevin, I had someone tell me one time, and I thought it was a really small thing they were asking for. This was a manufacturer out of the Low Country, South Carolina, and they're all robotic, right? They're making everything. It's all automated. There's very few people on the assembly line, and this is an internet circuit. They're just looking for a backup internet circuit. So I'm thinking this is a small thing. And when I got to that question about how much is this costing you, they're like, if we lose internet for more than 2 minutes, we have to reset the entire factory assembly process and lose all the jobs in process, which cost about $250,000 an hour.
Oh my God.
Like, holy shit. So this little backend, you're going to pay $500 a month for a backup internet circuit. It's going to save you $250,000 an hour if it goes out. It's just like, oh my, I mean, it was the easiest yes in the world, right? They're like, yeah, here you go. Pay an extra $500 a month and that problem goes away, right?
Yeah. But
So,
it was a great job though. Best,
yeah,
one of the best
nailed it.
practices I've heard.
Last thing I'll say, Kevin, is when if we were live prospects, are you going to turn your camera off?
I mean, if it's actual Zoom, like if I have to do a face-to-face, I would probably be comfortable. But being that we're all sort of like knowing with each other, like I find it really cheesy and I'll probably mess it up. That's
It's all
like,
good, man.
let's turn it off.
I'm just ribbing you, trying to get you prepared for the real thing. So
I'll
Stephen,
probably just
Stephen
start
had a
laughing.
question, Jack.
Steven said, phenomenal work, smooth as could be.
Yeah, that was a statement. That was as in the army or in the military, that's a statement, not a question. I love it
Okay.
when people in class do statements instead of questions, but I do have a question.
Send it.
The question is, can we just rewind, John, can we rewind back just a little bit before the pain and help me just kind of make up in your story sense of just kind of, all right, you know, we're poor, we start going in the thing, I'm going to do this. Where before you find that pain point, like right that gap, can you fill that gap, please?
So discovery questions is what you're looking for, Stephen. So we can, I've got some discovery questions for specific technologies that we can go over. My plan was to do that once we're done with the submarine, kind of get into the more tech specific stuff. But in general, a discovery question should not be a yes, no question. You're looking for something where they're going to answer at length, right? Tell me about the last time something like this happened, or can you share with me, you know, something that you've got,
Your process, how you know.
Yeah, you're
tell me how
just
you do
asking
this.
them
How
to
is
talk
this
about
okay.
the subject that you want to talk about.
And you have a list that you can extend us at some point, and we'll go over it more.
Yeah, we'll get
later.
into the technology guide. Here's the different kind of B2B, you know, SaaS, you know, things that we can sell. And then here's a you know, corresponding list of questions that you can ask to uncover those conversations, right? We'll get into that. The idea was we were going to do basic sales training and then get into the tech specific stuff second.
So I actually had a question as well on your set. So like, let's say they say $250,000. What are you trying to sell based off of the number? Is it like, what is that?
Go ahead.
Is it like a 10th? Like what's the return on, or 20%?
It's not,
10%?
Dad, you might have a better answer, but I don't think of it in terms of like, I need to sell them something that's equivalent to 10% of the value or of the pain that they're expressing. It's more about helping them quantify for themselves how real it is, right? If they get to that point and they're like, you know what, this actually didn't cost us anything. It's just kind of annoying. Like, oh, okay. What else you got, right?
Well,
anything else real? Go ahead.
just in general, Kevin, a CFO in general is okay spending $1 million if they're going to get $1 million back within a year. So 1-to-1, 1 year payback, and then everything after that, company's making money. So that would be, you know, the minimum ideal solution for them. Very often they'll do it with the 2-year payback, but 1 year is perfect. And then when you're trying to figure out what you're going to charge, you know, you can use a percentage. You can say, so you're telling me, you know, over 3 years, you think it's going to be how much? They say 3 million. So, okay, 3 million. You sure it's that much? Yeah. So what you think you could spend, you know, let's say 10%, so like 1% of that, just 1% of that on a full engineering study. We could send 2 people out there for a week and really figure out what's going on and tell you how we could fix it. You know, I don't know how much that is, you know, 20 grand or something, but it's just, you want to make it some small percent of the ROI as a study. And then you're probably going to charge, you know, up to 1 times the first year savings.
Which would be what? What would that mean? So like you would charge for the initial, and then you would do like a base, like a per visit consult, like sort of fee, or how would you price those out?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you're selling, obviously, but in general, if we think we're going to save, if they agree that we're going to save them $1 million a year, then we've got, you know, up to $1 million to work with to put together a solution that will solve their problem. And so, you know, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's not $1 million. You know, you can't just make it $1 million because it's $1 million. But let's say you're going to charge them, you know, it's going to cost $300,000 to solve the problem. You know, the ideal solution would be Jack goes in there and sells them a study for 25 grand, comes back and says it's going to cost $300,000 to solve the problem. and it's going to be 50 grand a year going forward to keep it solved. And there's our partnership.
Kevin,
And
I'll give you an
so-
example for, there's the local hospital network here in town in Greenville. We connected with them, learned that they had a pretty antiquated process for paying all their telecom bills, their phone and internet bills. Did a study for them, didn't actually charge them anything, did a pro bono study, which, you know, they're a big nonprofit, whatever. Could have charged, probably should have charged, but learned through the study that they were spending about, I think, $1.2 million a year more than they should on telecom for a number of reasons, right? Old process, paying bills they weren't using anymore, paying late fees, you know, all that kind of stuff. And we're able to say, hey, listen, we can sell you, you know, for $20,000 a month, this software that's going to help you manage the process. It's going to save you 1.2 million a year, and just be able to. So your pricing won't necessarily move depending on how big of a problem it is for them, but you can use that pricing, your pricing, as a ratio to what they're going to save, and say your ROI for this investment is, you know, 15x or whatever. Say, hey, you're, you know, this is, and that's how we sold it. Was you know, the original person said that sounds great, but I've got to get, you know, the steering committee and legal and, you know, the corporate governance people to all kind of buy off on this, and that ROI study we did for them was what made the difference. And so, and again, if you're working for a company, all that pricing stuff's going to be set for you. You might have some latitude, but now if you're an independent contractor or doing what I'm doing, you can make up whatever you want, sell whatever you want, price it however you want. So,
and that's
anyway.
why I was mostly interested, because I was like, I wonder what, maybe like a fifth or like a quarter of the price, because then you would be able to profit. Like they would still win regardless, and they're
Yeah.
not going to care because it's a big company. So like you would just be better off on your own like that. Like charge them like a fifth of whatever they're losing, as long as it's reasonable too, because, you know, obviously that they're gonna, I'm assuming they might do some research, or they might have some dude in there that knows some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to gouge people. You're trying to build a relationship where they come back to you and buy more stuff in the future. And if you gouge them on the first first interaction, first transaction, and they kind of pick up on that. They're like, hey, we could have gotten this for a third of what Jack charged us. That kind of sucks. I'm not gonna go back to Jack. So it's a balancing act. But
It also depends, Kevin, on what we're selling. Like if we're selling, you know, brand new cars, everyone can go to the blue book and figure out what cars are supposed to cost.
Right.
So, you know, that's pretty, it's fairly basic, even though that in itself is kind of a tricky business. But if we were selling a solution, let's say Jack and I were quoting a company, and their problem was their salespeople weren't selling enough. And they said, we think they can sell another $1 million worth of stuff if they were all where they're supposed to be at the average. So, and this happens all the time. So they'll say, if everyone was selling as much as the top 3 people are, we'd have another $1 million a year for the owners to divide. I mean, it's really it's a nice return on investment for these people. And I say, well, would you be willing to spend, like you said, a third of that every year to have Jack and I assure you that we're going to be hiring better people and training them and having a better comp plan and all the stuff that, you know, makes people better? It's going to cost 300 grand a year. And then, you know, how can you compare what we do to what somebody else does? Right? You can't say, well, they're going to deliver 4 units of training and this, you know, it's a knowledge-based thing. So at that point, it really is just relative to the return on investment and not what somebody else does. Because you can buy cheaper training, can't you, Jack? What can you do with a T-bone and a butcher's?
it has to be your bull.
It's your bull
be
and a
your
butcher's
bull.
ass?
Yeah, you stick your head of a butcher's ass, but gotta buy dinner first. All right, who wants to go next?
That was from Tommy Boy, by the way. Everyone should have watched that.
I got that.
If you don't get the
can
reference,
go.
we sound really weird.
Steven wants to go.
Do it, Steven.
Oh, who is it? I can.
Mark, do you want to go first?
You can go. It's still like I think it's the last 2 of us.
Okay, awesome. All right. Hey, Jack, thanks so much for sitting down with me today, and let's, I just want to, you had mentioned to me one issue with the network going down and just shutting down. And I wanted to kind of circle back and ask you a few questions. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned last time we talked that, the network would just kind of shut down. And can you tell me a little bit more about the problem?
Yeah, so we run a trucking and warehousing and shipping company. So we got a lot of big companies in the area that rely on us to be their logistics. And doesn't happen often, but when the internet goes down and we can't ship and receive and see what's going out, we're on the hook for our clients' losses. So for example, BMW is one of our customers, and when we can't ship them their stuff on time, we pay for their production losses to the tune of somewhere like 20 grand a minute.
Oh my gosh! Wow, that's definitely significant. Can you give me a little bit more of a specific example of when it recently happened, and
Yep.
and just what the effects that it caused for the company?
The last time this happened was Tuesday of this week. Internet went down for about 30 minutes. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it wasn't in the middle of a BMW production run, so we didn't suffer any losses. But the last time we suffered losses, it was probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and the internet was down for an hour and a half, and we ended up eating about 75 grand in BMW production losses.
So how long has this been going on? When's the first time you noticed it?
I mean, we've been with Windstream, our internet provider, for the last 2.5 years, and pretty much since we signed up with them, we've had intermittent network outages.
Okay. So so far, what have you tried to do to resolve the issue?
Oh man, we've about wrung our voices ragged, yelling at the Windstream people. We've got an internal IT guy, and he's about to pull all of his hair out. We've filed endless support tickets. We've threatened to sue. We've tried a bunch of different things trying to get Windstream to up their game, but it's been for naught.
Wow, that's everything, including the kitchen sink. So did any of that work?
Negative.
Oh man. So how much does this cost your company? Can you come up with maybe an estimate, like weekly, monthly, quarterly?
Well, I mean, just this month it was 75K for the outage a couple weeks ago. So that's about on par. We've been eating these for a while. So do 75,000 a month times 2.5 years, whatever that. So 2.5 years is 24 months plus 6 months, 30 months.
If you're gonna make me do public math, this is dangerous. Now we're getting
Here,
this is
I'll
almost
do it.
this thing.
30 times 75,000. That's about $2.25 million in the last 2.5 years.
It can't be that much.
That's just a guess on my part. It could actually be more than that. We've had some bigger things, and I'm just thinking about the one with BMW, so it could very well be more than that. Not to mention the potential lost business that BMW stopped buying from us. That's our biggest customer, so that's a much bigger hit.
Wow, that's definitely a number. So, I mean, for you personally, professionally, Jack, is that a big deal to you?
Hell yeah. I mean, this is winning that BMW contract was a huge day for our business. And so the fact that we're having trouble meeting their requirements is a huge deal. It hurts our reputation. We lose potentially a referral from BMW, which is worth its weight in gold. I could lose my job as the plant manager here. There's a lot of bad that could come of this, besides just the daily stress of, will the internet work when we need it?
Well, so what I'm hearing from you is that there's definitely a variety of concerns and angles that we could go from if you do not fix it. So if I were to ask you what happens if you don't fix it, you're already throwing, 5 to 7 things right there, just rattling them off. So it seems like it's not only a financial pain, but it's an emotional pain to use. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's definitely not fun, right? The business loses money, everyone's unhappy, people potentially lose their job. It's not good.
So what do you, I mean, in your opinion, what do you think you should do?
Maybe switch internet providers, maybe add some sort of redundancy to our system. So if one connection goes down, we can still do our job, fill our contracts. So something like that.
Are you open to maybe a third party or somebody else throwing some suggestions out at you?
Yeah, no, that'd be great. I mean, the folks internally haven't been able to figure it out, and the folks at Windstream certainly haven't been able to figure it out. So we'd love to hear some outside ideas on how to fix this.
All right, so I know we're going to go more into this later, Jack, but just initially shooting from the hip based on our conversation, one idea, something
All right.
that we've done for other. Okay, we're done.
That's good. We're good. And just for the record, you don't want to jump into pitching your solution at that point, right?
Okay.
Just because you've gotten permission, you're not done with the submarine, right? And that's the hard part, is that I've got a hot one, right? I just gave you a layup, clear pain, quantifiable pain, seriously big pain. And you're like, I got a pretty little pet. I want to, massage it and hold it. And I can't wait to just get this thing, home and play with it. But you got to keep going and qualifying, because maybe I don't have the budget to do what you want to do. Maybe, maybe there's other reasons kind of you might uncover later down the submarine that make this not as big and juicy of a slam dunk as you think it is. So at this point, you've got a qualified pain, right? Still got to keep going. But that was good. Good job following through with all that stuff. I would say and this is almost counterintuitive because we're not trying to sound like robots, but you can just read these like they're lines from a script, right? You were doing a lot of ad-libbing, kind of a lot of push to think between the lines here. I don't think you asked me what happens if you don't fix it, although I told you that. So just especially early on, you're going to get yourself in trouble more than you're going to do good if you deviate from the script. Save yourself the pain and just follow the script as they're written, because when you ad lib, it kind of like it's clear when you're on the script, and then it's clear when you start ad libbing. And I know you're on a script, so I got the behind the curtains preview, but there was a distinct, you were kind of rolling through these things verbatim, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, I'm going to start riffing a little bit, and it gets a little more squishy and vague at that point. So, but otherwise, good job.
I wish Stephen could have heard me go yesterday and like completely skip over 3 questions.
Well,
It's hard not to.
Yeah, I think it was a good job too. I'll add, it is the hardest thing to do is to make it so easy for yourself. I promise you, like when I go through this pain funnel with somebody, I do not ad lib. I've done it a million times, and I don't, because the word, it's like a good poem. The words are just perfectly laid out, and you just say, how do you feel about that? You just say it. It's amazing. It's almost like a line in a play. You just have to say it. And if you don't, it's just too much stuff, whatever. The only thing I will ad lib a little bit is I'll get permission a few times throughout the call. I'll say, I got a question coming up. It's one of those tough questions I talked about. Then I'll ask them about the pain or something. So I think it's okay to, get extra little bits of permission, but just literally read the question with empathy. It makes your life so much easier. And you did a good job on a lot of pieces, but there was one place where Jack said 20,000 a month. And does anyone know what he said? Do you remember?
75, 75K.
Well, he goes, oh, that's significant. He said, that's significant. And that's what a normal salesperson would say. He said, ooh, it's significant. I got one. He needs to go the other way and say, really, that much? Can't be that, and you did that later with a different number. But the first time you're like, significant. And that's what they're expecting a salesperson to say. Like, oh, I got you. I'm going to sell you now. He's going to say, no, it can't be that much. He said, yes, it is. So, but other than that, read the questions. You did it. Your voice sounds good. And I think you're gonna, we'll just keep doing it. So who's next, Jacko?
Mark, you want to go next?
All right.
My turn?
Yeah,
My
Mark,
turn?
Mark asks John the questions. And you can just ask a really open-ended question about anything. He's going to make up an answer. So fire away.
Hi, John. You mentioned in our discussion that you have been breached. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, we we had somebody answered the wrong email last Tuesday, and they shut our servers down, and we've been down for since then.
Yeah, can you give me an example, like more on that kind of incident?
Yeah, we've got we've got 400 people that access our corporate servers, and none of them could use could do anything work related on the computer since then. So we've had to call all of our customers and say, hey, call us on our cell phones. Here's my personal email. We've had to just bend over backwards to try to make things work. So it's been a real mess since Tuesday.
How long this has been going on?
Yeah, so it's been let's see, since Tuesday, I think it was 4 a.m.
What have you tried to resolve the issue?
Well, we have a local IT company that's been helping us kind of fix things when they break, and we've had them look at it, and so far we've gotten nowhere.
And did that work?
Not yet. It hasn't worked. They're still trying some things, but that's why we're reaching out to people like you, is to see if there's someone who might know how to do this better.
All right, glad I could help, John. So how much this has problem cost you?
Well, we figure it's costing us, about $100,000 a day.
Wow, that's a big problem that requires like an immediate attention. Couldn't be that much.
Well, it's hard to say, but we're getting roughly $100,000 a day less revenue because people are trying to place orders to the warehouse, and there's no orders coming in. So the warehouse people are just standing there not knowing what to ship. So we're shipping about 100,000 less a day since Tuesday. So that's been what, 2 days, 3
2
days?
days. Yeah. Is that a big deal?
I'll say it's a big deal. Yeah, it's and it could cost us the business if it keeps going. I mean, I can handle a week's worth of this, but it goes on too long, our customers will start buying from somebody else.
What happens if you don't fix it?
Yeah, we would lose. We'd probably lose our business.
And what do you think you should do at this time?
Well, Mark, of course, I don't quite know what to do because I'm not a computer person. So, these people have our servers held hostage, and I'm just calling anybody I know who might be able to help me solve the problem.
John, are you open to outside suggestion on how to fix that?
Of course, yeah, I am.
Okay. Here's my suggestion, John. Would you be able to spend 10,000? I'll send my team of technical engineer to run diagnostic and come up with a resolution in your system as soon as possible. Would that be okay to you?
Absolutely. How soon can they get here?
So an hour, would that be okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're just sitting around waiting on standby. That's good, Mark.
All right.
That's good. That's good. That's good. I mean, I like the way you read everything, even though some of it you knew the answer to it. I mean, it still worked. It still worked. And he just went right down the list. And at the end, he's just like, can we come over and help you? Like right now for 10 grand? Yes.
Yeah.
That's a sale.
Yeah. And there's times when, if it's like an ongoing breach and there's literally a, a ticking time bomb or something, like you can say, let's expedite this. Normally I would kind of take you through the whole process, but it sounds like you're in an extreme situation. And here's what we propose, right? We can be there, in an hour. Call the Ghostbusters. Mark, that was good, man. Only thing I'll say is you were working through it, reading, and then when he said how much it was costing him, he said, wow, that's a lot, big
Yeah.
deal. It requires a lot of, attention. And that's like what Stephen did. It's you, and this is something that I'm learning, and I'm kind of, in the process of learning, is that this, for like me and you and really anyone, it's a big deal, right? Personally, but this is company money, and the psychology is like, wow, everyone should think that's a big deal. But there's, like we did a study for Prisma and found out that um, they had like 75 cell phones. They just sat in a drawer and they paid every month for them and didn't use them. People that had been fired, turned in their corporate cell phone, never, and it didn't make a difference to them, right? It was like, number 172 on their like list of spend. It was a literal drop in the bucket. And so for
Yeah.
us, it's like, oh my God, you're spending 80,000 a month on phones you're not using.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, whatever. Don't care.
I don't care.
Don't care.
I mean,
It's all my money.
it's enough. We hadn't talked about this yet, but what do you call that, Jack? When you have money issues, where you compare how we feel about money
Yeah.
versus how the company might feel about it.
Company money.
That's one of the things you have to get over. It's a mindset. You cannot think about, these people are wasting 80,000 a month on cell phones that are sitting in that drawer. All we got to do is get them out, call the phone
Yeah.
company, you cancel it.
Got my pretty little pet. I got an opportunity, but to them
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. So it's
They
not an
don't- there's-
opportunity.
These people are spending $4 billion a year
Yeah.
on something.
Yeah. 80 grand is
don't care.
nothing.
It's like,
So
it's like, a can of sardines in the house, it's like nothing.
yeah. Okay. Well, that was good, Mark. Who, do we not get anybody? Has everyone done this? Thomas, you want to go?
Yeah, who do you want me to call?
Talk to John. I did too. He'll do too.
Hey, Thomas, I want to be the owner of a company who's very unhappy with his sales team.
Very well. All right, John. So I know we kind of touched on the issue of your sales team. Do you think you could tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and before we get started, the great phrase to use is to be, first of all, we're excited about this question, and you want to say, I know we want to talk about your sales team today. Tell me where you are now, or tell me what's going on now. And your question wasn't a terrible question, but I love that, tell me where we are now, and kind of make it a punch it. That's part of where we punch it. So let's start over.
All right, John. So I know we wanted to talk about your sales team a little bit. So if you don't mind, do you think you could tell me where you are now?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I've got 7 salespeople, and they're generating, it's about 11 million a year total. Now, of that 11, 3 of it's coming from one salesperson. And then I've got a couple of brand new salespeople, and then, one other salesperson who's doing like 2 million, and the rest of them are kind of middle of the pack. So out of 11 million, I've got 5 of that coming from 2 people, and then 5 people kind of splitting up the rest. So I'm just very frustrated. I can never seem to get 7 people, doing 3 million. If I did that, you know how much I would be doing. So it just drives me nuts. It seems like I can't get past this like 10, $11 million range. And I just can't get any more salespeople up to the $2 or $3 million range. It's just driving me insane.
Absolutely. Do you think, John, you could give me an example of maybe an issue that you're having with it?
We hire people, and they just seem to take forever to get up to speed. And sometimes when they looks like they're going to be good salespeople and make a good number, then they leave. I think that they're all very poor at prospecting. They won't like take their time to go find new business. They want marketing to give them all the leads. And they kind of have money problems. There's only a few of them that are good at doing big deals. The rest of them do small stuff.
Okay, and how long has this been going on for you?
Well, I've been struggling with this for about 8 years.
8 years. Okay. And what have you tried to do about it, John?
We've been through 5 different sales managers, for one thing. And we've tried, they're going to a weekly training class. I've tried a consultant or 2 along the way, but for the most part, none of it's worked very well.
Okay, so nothing really working at all for you on that end.
That's right.
And how much do you think this problem is costing you right now?
Okay, here's my math on this. The top 2 people are doing 2 and 3 million a piece. Let's just say 2.5 million. So 2.5 million is very possible. So if I had 7 people doing 2.5 million, how much would that be? 14, 2.5 times 7, half times 14, 7, 3.5 plus 14, so 17.5. So 17.5 million. I should be doing 17, 18 million with this crew I got with these 7 people. And that would be a good thing.
So roughly you're looking at 6.5 million in losses, possibly a year.
Yeah.
Well, it couldn't be that much.
Well, let me tell you, I think I can do more. I think I can add salespeople and get up to 20 or more, but I don't know. Well, I think we could. I mean, certainly we can do it. Those people are already doing it. I got one girl doing 3 million.
Are those losses a big deal for you, John?
Hell yeah, they're a big deal. That's my money. I mean, I could use that money to create a family legacy, or to hire a bunch more people, or go buy a company. I mean, there's a lot of things I could do with that money, and it's just sitting there waiting to be gotten by our damn miserable, sorry ass sales team.
And what do you think is going to happen if you don't fix that?
I'm going to fix it. First of all, I'm going to fix it. But if we don't fix it, we'll just keep going sideways until I probably just get sick of it and sell the company.
And what do you think you should do about it?
Well, what I'm trying to do, Thomas, is find somebody who can help me solve this puzzle. And so that's what I think I should do. Is I'm talking to you and people like you to see if we can solve it.
Okay, so you're open to outside suggestions on how to fix the issue?
Absolutely, man. I certainly can't do it.
All right.
Nice,
Good
Thomas.
job. Good job.
Yeah, man, that was a good mix of just reading the thing off the script and adding your own kind of personal touch to it, right? You got the gist of every question, but you kind of tweaked it a little bit to make it sound like it's originally yours, which is perfect. Even if you read it verbatim, you can still do that. But I thought that was a really good job. Didn't really have any notes for you because you nailed it.
I agree. Nailed it.
Awesome. Colton, have we done you? Yeah, have you done this yet? All right, so Colton, we're gonna have to do you on Monday. We'll be yeah, I know we're Brenna's gonna yell at us if we try and do one more. But yeah, just everyone can take a chance to practice this stuff over the weekend. I'm gonna drop 2 reading opportunities into chat. So there's 2 links there. I couldn't get them to split, and so Forbes article, Market Watch article about the future of cybersecurity in B2B sales. So both of those are worth reading, short, easy. Consider that the homework for the weekend, a little light reading. So any questions or parting shots? So next week we'll do finish up with Colton, and then we'll do decision, fulfillment, and post-sale. Finish up the submarine. And then if we do that and have time, by the end of the week, we'll start getting into the more tech-specific stuff, kind of the end of the submarine. So anybody have any questions? I'm pretty sure I just made that a DM to Colton and not to everybody, so my bad.
I just have a question regarding like what you guys use to make calls and everything. Like, do you have a dedicated like microphone and stuff? like good audio. That's what you use right there?
Yep.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I stopped using my personal cell phone. I love iPhone with Apple AirPods. That's my kind of on the go call. The AirPods make a huge difference in terms of call quality and ease of use. If I'm at my desk, I actually use this with a Google Voice phone number, so I can actually dial from my computer. You can also do that. You can do VoIP, soft phone stuff as well. But we'll talk about more about the tech stack and how you do this stuff. CRM, phone, headset. How you manage all that stuff later down the road. So good question though. Anybody else going once? Going twice? Well, you guys, Colton was good enough to repost those articles in everyone's chat, not just his. So thanks, Colton. And you guys take a look, and we will talk to you on Monday morning for another yours.
Okay, thank you very much.